Okay, everyone. My name's Michelle. I'm from Robert Gordon University. I'm having some technical difficulties, so I'm really sorry if this cuts out. Please bear with me, and I will, just keep going until we get through with the questions and so on. So far, excuse me, this is the longest that we've managed to go without the system. It keeps telling me that there's an error detected, but that's been a few seconds now, maybe heading towards a minute, and there's been no issues, so fingers crossed we are there. If you can just excuse me 1 second, just want to see if any of you have posted a comment on the webinar site. So, right, let's have a look. Okay. Okay, so as far as I can see, it looks like we have overcome our technical issues, which is great news. So I will crack on telling you a bit about Robert Gordon University. Um, some of the eagle-eyed amongst you might notice that we're in rather comfortable surroundings for a university office. That's because it's 9 o'clock at night here in Aberdeen in Scotland, so I'm actually doing this from home. So I can't guarantee all our facilities at the university will have so many soft furnishings as this, but this allows me the opportunity to be able to talk to you guys at hopefully a time which suits you. So, my name's Michelle. My job is I'm a regional manager for Robert Gordon University, looking after our students who are interested in coming from North America to RGU, which is hopefully the reason that you've joined us here this evening, afternoon. That's going to get confusing. So why RGU then? Now, I'm going to make the presumption that you've already heard a little bit about us, so apologies for repeating what you already know, but there's some points about our university that are definitely worth reiterating to you. So we're based in Aberdeen, which is the oil and gas capital of Europe, in the north of Scotland. So heading up towards basically the very far left hand corner of the UK map. Geographically, that places us about 500 miles away from London, about 175 away from Glasgow, 125 away from Edinburgh. Um, Aberdeen as a city is a real strength in the reasons that RGU is such a good prospect for many of our students. It's a very strong economic capital in the UK. It's been named a super city by HSBC, the multi kind of national bank, and that's because Aberdeen has one of the strongest economies in the UK, second to London, um, again linking into the oil and gas. How this also benefits you as a potential RGU student will be because of the exposure to industry. Again, our tiny little city, which only has a population of 220,000 people, is actually home to a hugely disproportionate amount of multinational companies. So all the big large oil companies have either their European headquarters or their UK base in the city. So companies like Shell, BP, Schlumberger, Talisman, Chevron, ExxonMobil, and so on all have big operations here. How that benefits you as a student is in a couple of ways. Um, as a university, our outlook is very much a practical focus, very much thinking about you and your career from the moment you become a student with us. We're thinking about how we're preparing, you best for actually leaving us and going on to start or further develop your career. So unlike some universities in the UK or that kind of follow a more liberal arts style ethos, we're very, very vocational, very, very professional focused. So right from day one that you become an RGU student, we're thinking about how best to equip you to be, a professional in your chosen career field. having all these companies based on our doorstep effectively means that we can work very closely with them to tap into their mindsets. You know, what is it they're looking for in a commercial professional, whether that's to do with you know, a computer engineer, an accountant, an HR manager, and somebody in the advertising and marketing department, somebody looking after corporate social responsibility, right the way through to a lot of our courses in the health portfolio can often be influenced by the local industries as well. Things like occupational health, physiotherapy, and so on. Fitness for practice for people that are working offshore or in kind of highly stressful environments and so on. So, right the way through our whole portfolio of courses, there's that emphasis on employability and that benefit from our location, as we really do have exposure to lots of different types of you know, operators, if you like, professional, practical, commercial, public sector employers, you know, in the little microcosm that is our city. Now, I'm just going to stop there for a second, as I don't have great faith in technology. Oh, so I just want to check the questions to see what people are saying. Okay, so, oh, this is great. So M Bryce is saying that she can hear and see me, which is good news. I'll take that as a positive and hopefully confirmation that we've overcome our technical issues. So speak up throughout the time that I'm going to talk to you if you have any specific questions that you would like answered, or if you would like me to explain anything in greater detail, or if you'd just like me to slow down, because in Scotland we are guilty of talking very quickly and getting very excited and animated, and sometimes that's a wee bit difficult to keep up with when your ears aren't tuned into the Scottish accent. So I'm totally open to even questions saying, could you repeat that, and so on. Okay, so we'll carry on. As I mentioned, RGU's vocational university, career focused university, so constantly thinking about your employability, constantly working with relevant external stakeholders to make sure that the content of your the syllabus that we're teaching you is as professionally relevant as possible. We have a lot of employers tell us what they're looking for in a practitioner, and we then include that in your studies. What that then means is when you become an output of the university and start applying for jobs, you're already talking, thinking, operating, behaving, understanding like a professional. So you're ticking the boxes of the employers, what they're looking for, because they told us what they were looking for, and we educated you in that way. You've taken on board all the additional things that we offer you, and as a result, you're leaving like a fully formed professional. We know we're very successful in what we achieve and the model that we use, because we are the UK's #1 university for graduate employment. That is something that it's an accolade that we've had over the last, I think we're now into 10 years at the top. Looking at our successful graduate returns, it's a benchmarking exercise that the UK government does. So all universities have to feed that in, and it's done by the Higher Education Statistical Statistics Agency, and RGU comes out on top time after time again. So we know that we're not just giving you an empty promise of making you employable. You know, we really do deliver on that. And one of the newspapers here, the Sunday Times, and its Good University Guide, really hit the nail on the head when they said that, you know, RGU is a degree from RGU is as near a guarantee of a degree as you can. No, a degree from RGU is as near a guarantee of a job as you can get. Again, forgive me, it's getting a little late here. So we firmly believe that we live up to what we tell you we're going to do in terms of our end of the bargain in increasing your employability. There's obviously things that you have to do as an individual. You have to make sure that you are making the most of your experience here. So really going above and beyond in terms of the networking opportunities that we give you. There will be lots of guest lectures on campus. There'll be lots of networking exercises. There'll be lots of speakers coming in to present and so on. And we really want, and encourage you to, sometimes stay behind at the end of the day to listen to that CEO that's coming in, or when you're on placement, if you're doing what the health sciences in the School of Health Sciences, then really making sure that when you're on your placement, you're really kind of absorbing everything that is being presented around you, as well as what you're being directly asked to be involved with. So there's definitely, we work together on this. We can't say that simply by merit of being an RGU graduate you will get a job, but if we both put in the teamwork, then our history shows that our graduates are very successful, and we're obviously very proud of that. Now, there is a question here. I'm going to interrupt. This is very much my style. We'll come back on to me telling you more about RGU, but as the questions came in, I'll just answer it as we go along. And equally, if any others come off the back of it, then we'll go along that line and we'll come back to filling in the gaps about the university at an appropriate point. So we have, this is M. Bryce, who is saying that you're a third year business admin diploma. Sorry, I need to maximise the screen. From Ontario. How long does it take to complete a degree with you? Fantastic question. What, depending on which college that you're from, which institution you are from in Canada, what we do is we have a number of learning agreements with various institutions where we've matched the syllabus together to see what if what you've learned in your diploma transfers into what we would expect our students to learn. So in the instance where you're speaking about being a third year diploma holder, we would, or a 3 year diploma holder, we would need to have a look at what you've studied as part of that, and look at if there was any scope for you to come into the final year of our qualification, the honours year, or if, depending on the level of which your diploma is, we might invite you to come and join us in the third year of our course, in which case you would do 1 year on campus at RGU, and you would graduate with an ordinary degree, or you would stay and do a second year at RGU and you would graduate with an honours degree. Now, typically, a Scottish undergraduate degree is 4 years. So, if you're looking for credit transfer, you would tend to transfer into the Scottish system at the end of your year 2, at the start of our year 3, but some exceptions can be made. And what I would encourage you to do, Bryce, it feels very formal saying that, but that's the name that we've got here. What I would encourage you to do is to speak to my colleagues at KOM, who are very kindly supplying this webinar for everyone, and ask them to submit your documents to RGU. We look at all applications that follow this kind of inquiry on a case-by-case basis, unless you're coming from a particular partner institution, in which case all the mapping's been done, and we would know if you were coming from, say, the SAIT in Calgary, then we've done a mapping exercise, so we know that those students will just drop in. If you come from some of the other colleges, then again we know that they'll just drop in. So long story short, it really will depend on us having a good look at your documents, but I would say it would either be year 3, so the first year of our degree, maybe in an exceptional circumstance you might get entry into year 4, which is the honours year of our degree. Okay. Now, some other things. So just to give you an overview of the range of courses that we offer at Robert Gordon University, we have 3 faculties, and within those 3 faculties, we have 9 academic schools. So test for me here, if I can remember them all. We have a School of Applied Social Studies, we have a School of Nursing and Midwifery, one of Pharmacy and Life Sciences, one of Engineering, School of Engineering, School of Computing, School of Architecture and Built Environment. We have a Business School, we have a School of Art, and there's always one that escapes me. Who do I think I've forgotten? Did I say Health Sciences? I don't think I said Health Sciences. So within those schools, popular courses for our Canadian students typically are, at undergraduate level, we do a Masters in Pharmacy course, which is an integrated Master's. So it's a 4-year qualification, but you're graduating with your Bachelor's in Pharmacy and your Master's in Pharmacy. We have every year we have a few Canadian students who come and do that because of the employment prospects, both in the UK for pharmacists and also returning home to Canada or going global. In the business school, the courses that tend to be very popular at undergraduate level, we have international business management, we have international hospitality management, you know, business and marketing, business and HR, and so on. They tend to be quite popular. At postgraduate level in the business school, we have a course in corporate communications and public affairs, which every year sees a number of Canadian students coming onto, again because of the positives at home and abroad with that skill set. We also have a master's in energy management, which again attracts a number of Canadian students. For sorry, that's my phone. I don't know if you can hear it. We'll just ignore it. It's my mother. I'll phone her back. Don't worry. So School of Engineering, Oil and Gas Engineering is our most popular course with Canadian students both at undergraduate and postgraduate level. So given our strengths in Aberdeen being in the heartbeat of the energy industry for Europe, then we do find that we get an awful lot of we host an awful lot of experience and knowledge in the energy industry, and we're really the number one energy educator in the UK of all your UK universities, simply because we really are at the heartbeat of the energy industry, with being, you know, located in the oil and gas capital of Europe. So School of Engineering, it tends to be the oil and gas engineering, or at undergraduate mechanical and offshore engineering are the popular options. School of Computing, we've just started an oil and gas for the IT for the oil and gas industry at Masters, which is really popular. We found that a lot of our IT graduates were getting jobs in the energy industry, and they had the IT understanding, but they couldn't apply that to the context of the energy industry. So they were getting this new job, and then they were having to bring themselves up to speed about how energy works. So what we've decided to do is contextualize some of the IT that they were learning in that industry, so that they're just, you know, still getting really great jobs really quickly, but there's less of an adjustment period for them once they become professionals in that field. And then we have a range of undergraduate courses in computing as well, which kind of cover all the elements of computing, from animation, digital media, creative industries, software, programming, so on. We have an undergraduate degree in architecture, and we have postgraduate in construction project management. In the health sciences tend to be very popular with our Canadian students as well. We have lots of students coming to do our masters in physiotherapy. It's physiotherapy in Canada as well. In the US, I have to remember it's physical therapy. But here it's Masters in Physiotherapy. It's a 2-year course. It's accredited by the American Association of Physiotherapists. So it's the only course outside North America to carry that accreditation. So it's a big draw for North American students that are wanting to come and study their Masters in Europe, but return with a qualification that's equally recognised at home, as if they had stayed and done it at a local institution. And then at undergraduate level, we also offer physiotherapy, we offer nutrition and dietetics, we offer occupational therapy, radiography, things like that. So really wide range of courses in the Faculty of Health and Social Care. So other things for you to bear in mind. Oh, sorry, I should say for pretty much the vast majority of postgraduate courses in the UK, it's a 12-month Masters, which is a little bit different from many other countries. That's to do with the fact that we have a 4-year undergraduate programme and a 1-year Masters. Many countries have a 3-year undergraduate programme and a 2-year Masters. We just carve up the education a little bit differently. We also pace your Masters slightly differently too. In other countries, typically that you take 2 years to do a Masters, it's because maybe in the first year you're doing your taught modules, and then in the second year you're doing your research element, your dissertation. In the UK, what we do is we just give you a pace that's much more resembling of the real world, you know, the professional world, where you just keep going. You know, semester, you do 3 semesters back to back. So start in September, Christmas vacation, second semester in January, you have a break in May, and then over the summer you do your dissertation, and then you graduate in November. So that's the way that the 1 year master's works. Perfectly acceptable, perfectly manageable, globally recognised, just a little bit different from the norms you might be familiar with if you've been looking at Canadian or Australian or other European countries for your master's studies. A little bit more about Aberdeen from the personal side of things. Aberdeen is one of the UK's safest cities to be a student at. Fantastic geographic location in that to the left we have the sea, so we're right on the water, a beautiful miles and miles of beaches. You can do all the water sports, surfing and things like that if you choose. To the right of the city, within 20 minutes you'll be in mountain ranges, so if you enjoy walking, hiking, climbing or skiing, snowboarding in the winter months, everything is very, very accessible in Aberdeen. Aberdeen as a city is easy to get to. It's got an international airport. The transport system around the UK is very easy. So if you've got friends or families in Edinburgh or Manchester, London, it's all very joined up, and there's lots of low cost providers as well that will help you ping around the UK in your weekends. Also, we are on the doorstep of Europe, although we're slightly more isolated as an island. We're not far away, so very easy if you decide during your break in your studies that you want to go to Paris, for 4 days. Why not? It's just, it's very easy to do, and a lot of our North American students, that's definitely something that they really embrace. Is just their exposure to reaching Europe and on an overnight train or on a low cost flight, and just being able to phone home and say, "Hey, I was in Copenhagen this weekend," and then phoning again a couple of weeks later, "Oh, I'm in Rome." Major cool points for doing that, and an absolutely fantastic experience for you. Another quick thing to tell you about Aberdeen, and to explain a wider topic as well, just about your student visa. When you come to study on your student visa, obviously your priority is to your studies. However, you will be allowed to work a part-time job for up to 20 hours per week. That's, you don't have to apply for anything additional on your student visa. It's a norm that students work part-time. In Aberdeen as a city, because again, going back to oil and gas, going back to being a real kind of economic stronghold in the UK, we've not been as adversely affected by the kind of recession and the downturn as other cities have been, because we're linked to an economy that's still in boom, which is energy, compared to some other cities in the UK that are linked to say finance or manufacturing or so on, that are dipping a little bit. So there's still plenty of part-time jobs. The vast majority of students, postgraduate students, undergraduate students, manage to balance a part-time job and their studies. So the stats are over 70% of students can do both. But just remember, your priority is to your studies. But your visa does allow you to do a part-time job, and in Aberdeen they're still widely available. Let's see, when it comes to applying to the university, very, very straightforward. We've got our colleagues here at KOM in Ontario there, who are our representatives in Canada effectively. So speak to them about them acting as a facilitator for your application. They can do that for all of RGU's courses, so undergraduate, postgraduate. They can also give you a real insight into who we are, and just take the hassle off of you having to learn about our application system. It's not particularly complicated, but I imagine many of you are in the thick of either finishing final year studies, or you're maybe already working and your head's busy with other things. So let the KOM guys take the application off your hands once you've decided if RGU is the right one, right place for you. Couple of things. Scholarships are always a popular question as a question from our Canadian kind of inquirers. Scholarships they're not as exciting or attractive as perhaps some other competitor countries might be, in that it's very rare to get a full scholarship, but there are plenty of scholarships available in different forms. One scholarship that I'd like to draw your attention to is the Saltire Scholarship. Now, Scotland and Canada obviously has a long and linked heritage together. The Scottish Government is actively trying to encourage Canadian students to come to Scotland and is trying to position us as an education destination. So there's a Scottish Government scholarship that you can apply for called the Saltire Scholarship. Saltire is the name of our national flag. So you can apply for that. That's a £2,000 fee discount, and it's a very straightforward scholarship application. Basically, all it's asking is why you want to study in Scotland. At postgraduate level at RGU, every one of our schools has a merit scholarship scheme. So you would submit a scholarship application stating why you deserve that scholarship, why you deserve a scholarship. These vary in price. If you're applying for one of our MBA courses, the scholarship goes right the way up to £9,000. If you're applying for some of our other courses, you might find it's 1,000 or 2,000, but it's always by way of a fee discount. Now, I think we've kind of covered off many of the kind of the main things that people ask me. Oh my goodness, oh sorry, I've just noticed that there's 7 new messages. So let's just see. Forgive me, that's me not refreshing the screen. Sorry for keeping you waiting after saying that I was going to pause the presentation to answer questions. So here we go. What kind of questions are we being asked? Right. Oh, are there any scholarships for Canadians? Hopefully I have kind of covered that already by talking about the Saltire Scholarship and the merit scholarships for postgraduate students. What I didn't mention, and good reminder, is if you are applying for an undergraduate course, undergraduate courses, typically the scholarships are performance based. So for a merit scholarship postgraduate one, we can make that analysis based on your undergraduate studies in your home school. So what grade did you get for your degree, your diploma, that kind of thing. For undergraduate courses, they don't really want to put as much faith in your performance in your high school as justification for giving you a financial reward because of the big leap from from high school to post undergrad. So typically what will happen at undergrad for a scholarship is you'll come into the school, you'll study for a year, and then at the end of your year, the scholarships will start to open up to you. Many of the scholarships at undergraduate level are commercial scholarships, so companies who are actually trying to engage with you because they're trying to identify the brightest and the best students. So it's almost as a recruitment mechanism. They want to kind of get a fast track on who's going to be the best in the class, because once you graduate, those companies want to have an engagement with you so that you don't go to their competitors. So that's how the scholarships work at undergraduate. I probably should have answered the phone call from my mother. That was another question. Don't tell her. Accommodation. So there's a couple of different options for accommodation. No surprise, very similar to how it is in Canada. You can have on-campus, university accommodation or private accommodation. And there's pros and cons to both of them, and it's your decision to kind of make up your mind on which suits you best. The university accommodation is typically, it's all self-catered, and it's an apartment format. So you'll be in an apartment with between 3 to 6 other people. If you're in an apartment of 6, then and you have the option of ensuite or shared bathroom facilities, washing facilities. In that instance, if you're in an apartment of 6, say you would have 2 showers and 2 toilets. If you're in an apartment of 3, you might have 1 shower and 1 toilet. So the facilities scale up and down depending on the size of the apartment. They're never any bigger than 6 or 7 people as an absolute maximum. The university accommodation is typically located in the city centre. Partly to do with historically RGU was a split campus university, so the city centre accommodation was built when we used to have a bigger presence in the city centre. All teaching has now moved out to our Garth D campus, which if you look at any of the marketing materials you'll see straight away is the beautiful Greenfield campus next to the river. It's about 15 minutes away on a bus. But what we've done as a university is we've actually made the decision to maintain our city centre accommodation because your part-time jobs, your socialising, things like that, Starbucks, are all based in the city centre. Whereas Garth D, whilst it's a beautiful campus, it's a beautiful learning environment, once lectures are over, people it empties, and there's not really so much kind of entertainment in that area. And certainly if you do have a part-time job, if you're working shifts in a restaurant or a bar and coming back late, you know, it's, you don't really want to be making that 15-minute bus journey at 11 o'clock at night. So the accommodation for the university is typically in the city centre. A pro of the university accommodation is it can all be organised before you leave Canada. You do it through the university website. Very straightforward. Cost, it varies depending on which accommodation you're placed in. You can put your preferences. So on the accommodation website for the university, you will see all the lists of housing stock that we have, along with the different prices, which have en suite, you know, geography towards the campus. So you can indicate which ones you're most interested in, driving by your, you know, what's most important, whether it's price, whether it's locality, or so on. So you can have that all sorted before you leave Canada. Included in your accommodation fees are going to be your utilities, so your electricity, your internet, your heating, and so on. Heating's a big one because it does get a bit chilly here. Not Canada chilly, but you know, it can be a bit cold in the winter. So if you've got to remember, if you decide to go for private accommodation, which often has a lower rent, like a lower weekly rent, but then you've got to remember your utilities go on top of that. And you know, thinking about things like heating in the winter, sometimes that can make a really cheap rent actually be kind of not that great value when you're then adding on an expensive utility bill. But the benefits of private accommodation is that you do get that feeling sort of slightly more a sense of grown up, you know, a sense of independent living, so you can decorate it a little bit more freely. You're not as confined by that sense of being in a bedroom that's similar to the person next to you's bedroom, to the person's next and person's next. So depending on how you feel. A lot of our Canadian students, what we do is we will try and introduce you to our current Canadian student network before you become an RGU student. So we'll introduce you to some of the students that are finishing up their studies or are on campus before you come over. What we have found is that some of our Canadian students actually create kind of a almost legacy flats, in that the exiting Canadian student will make an introduction to their landlord of an incoming Canadian student, and you know, quite often the leases transfer from, you know, the outgoing Canadian student to an incoming Canadian student. That's not unusual, particularly for our students in the physiotherapy courses. So we will try and support you with your search for accommodation, but really it's one for you to kind of weigh up those pros and cons. No one is better or worse than the other because it's such a personal thing. You have to decide. So, we touched upon part-time work, and there's another question about that. It is widely available. It's not guaranteed. Same as in Canada, you won't get a job simply by turning up for an interview and saying, "Give me the job." It's about your fit with the employer, so making sure that you are presenting yourself in such a way, demonstrating the skills and behaviours they're looking for. The university has a career centre which you can access, and I encourage you to go on the website and have a look. There's a section within the international students section of the website, and also obviously in the career section of the website, and you can start to pick up some tips and start to benefit from the career centre before you even enrol as an RGU student. The career centre holds a massive database of jobs, both part-time jobs and full-time graduate level jobs. So speak to the career centre, make sure that your CV is in the kind of the UK format and so on. Speak to them about perhaps mock interviews and so on, because although we share an awful lot of similarities, Canada and Scotland, there'll be some norms that are a wee bit different in the two countries. So kind of testing yourself out in a safe environment, in a controlled environment, like a mock interview, will help you find out, oh right, okay, I know what to expect, or oh my goodness, I've never been asked that before, because it's not a Canadian norm. So do speak to the career centre. Types of salary, we do all operate on a minimum wage basis here in the UK. The minimum wage is around about £6. I think it's just over £6 per hour, and that's guaranteed. Sometimes you'll get a lot more than that, but you shouldn't ever get any less than that. The school year begins excuse me, you can probably tell I've got a bit of a cold, starting runny nose and cough. So apologies, I hope I'm easy enough to understand. School year begins in September, typically, for the vast majority of courses, but if you are one of the students that are coming on our Masters of Physiotherapy, that is a January start course. But, you know, for most of our business, architecture, computing, and so on, typically it will be a September start course. How the holidays work, again, depending on which level you're studying, undergrad and postgrad vary slightly. An example of an undergrad year will be you start in September and you go round until December, when you'll have your Christmas break and the university closes for 2 weeks. Then in January you will pick up your exams and final hand-ins for the content that you've covered during that first semester. Usually you'll do 4 modules in a semester. So you would do the exams, assignments, or final assignments for those 4 modules in January. In February, the second semester starts, and again you'll do another 4 modules between February and May, and then you'll have your exams for those 4 modules and so on, final hand-ins in May, so that you'll finish your studies in June. And as an undergraduate student, that's you until September usually. You're free to go home, go back to Canada, go travelling over the summer, stay in the UK and do a part-time job. On that note, if you stay in the UK during the summer holidays, you can work full-time. You might remember me saying your student visa allows you to work 20 hours a week. That's during semester time. Out with semester time, you can work up to 37 hours a week. If you're a postgraduate student, the timetable is slightly different. The first semester and the second semester are very similar to as I described, 4 modules. But where it differs with the masters is that you will then do your third semester directly after your second semester. So second semester exams, final hand-ins are in May. In June, you will begin to work on your dissertation or your master's project, which is like your thesis. It's a 3-month independent piece of research that you will do, and you know that takes you through to September, when you'll hand it in, you'll present it, defend it, and then you'll get your results in September, and then you will graduate in the graduation ceremony that's typically right at the end of November or the start of December. Msc Physiotherapy is a little bit different because it's a 2-year course, but it's really our only master's course that is 2 years. Okay, let's see. Oh gosh. Right. Okay, good question. Oh, great questions. This is, yeah. Okay, so there is not an orientation, forgive me, there is an airport collection service. If you're coming in September or if you're coming in January, then we do run an airport meet and greet. It is called, which you registered for through the university website. As an offer holder, we will be communicating to you details of things like enrolment, orientation, airport collections, and so on, and really helping take you through that final pre-arrival stage. So yeah, that'll be organised, but you do have to let us know when to expect you. It typically runs for about a 2-week period just ahead of the start of semester. And another question is, are there many Canadians at our university? Great question. I'm sure many people will be interested in knowing that. We don't have a massive amount of Canadians at our university. We do every year recruit a good solid number, which I think sits at probably between 35 to 50, which in a university of 10,000 full-time students doesn't feel that much. But equally, as it stands just now, I'm pretty sure that most of your friends are Canadian. So I think you're ready to be in an environment with lots of non-Canadians. So there's enough Canadians for you to be able to kind of keep in touch with some people that understand where you're coming from, both geographically, mentally, physically, literally, and having made the same journey in the Canadian student community on campus. But there's lots of other nationalities, including, you know, obviously Scots, for you to make new friends with and to enjoy that experience and to enjoy that diversity of experience. Now, there is a wee bit of an imbalance because at undergraduate, we do have the vast majority of the student population are Scottish firstly, And then secondly, we have, you know, a number of students who come from other places in the UK, but we also have a huge number of Europeans studying our undergraduate courses as well. And then we have some students from further afield, like increasingly we're getting a number of students from Canada and the US coming from college, you know, diploma level and so on into the third year of our degrees. So there is diversity there, but it's a different mix from at postgrad. In the master's classes, it's really international. You will, you know, find that there's more international students than any other, than, you know, Scottish or EU students, and those students will come from, you know, such a range of countries that it's hard to kind of, you know, say kind of a dominant nationality, because there's it varies by course. And then, you know, we've got lots of students who come from West Africa and the Middle East and Russia and Venezuela. There does seem to be a consistency in that we do attract students from oil-bearing countries, because so many of our courses have that energy link. Then there's a lot of people who come here because they've got one eye on, you know, returning home and their career prospects there. So we do have a lot of energy related kind of students and community coming into the university. But there's, you know, hopefully you'll meet as many Canadians as you want to meet, but you're going to meet so many more different people as well. I should say I studied abroad when I was an undergraduate, so I have done that thing, and it's so fantastic to just be around so many different nationalities. But equally, I do appreciate it is important to, you know, meet some people from your own country as well, even just so that you can sympathise about the junk food that you're missing that you can't get anymore, and people will understand what what you're talking about when you say how badly you're missing Tim Horton. A Scottish person wouldn't understand that, but another Canadian will be right with you there. So okay, so let's have a wee look and see what other questions do we have. Oh, I think maybe that's us maybe at the end of our questions. Now, does if anybody has anything else that they would like to ask, then feel free to post it now. I think I'm going to wrap up because I think we've kind of covered most things. If not, then hopefully I've certainly given you enough to whet your appetite to get in touch with my colleagues at KOM to kind of speak to them a wee bit more about your next steps in terms of either researching RGU or progressing to applying. We will really try and keep in touch with you. So I would encourage you to fill in one of the international student inquiry forms on our website. It's just another constant line of communication that we'll give you. It is interactive, so please don't worry you're going to be spammed, but it then allows us to send you emails and give you updates, things especially, things going back to scholarships. We make sure that we really keep our students in the loop about scholarships. So if there's any new scholarships that come on board, if the university introduces a new scholarship, or if there's a government scholarship, or if there's a company that approaches us to say that they're launching a new scholarship and so on, then, so if you're in the university's inquiry kind of silo, as well as my colleagues in KOM, it just means that you're getting loads and loads of exposure to lots and lots of information about the university, and then my colleagues will take you through the application process. So that's that. I guess the thing that I would like to say, if there's no other questions, is thank you so much for considering Robert Gordon University and Scotland. We're really proud of our little country, and thrilled that you're thinking about continuing your education over here. The majority of students, the vast majority of students that do come and study in Scotland, all speak very, very positively about it, and our international student satisfaction rate at Robert Gordon University is above average for both the UK and Europe, because we really appreciate when you make the effort to travel all the way to Aberdeen. We really want to make sure that you feel it was worth your while, and not just in the short term whilst you're a student with us, but also that you feel part of the RGU family for the rest of your life. So and tied to Aberdeen forevermore. So we really look forward to welcoming you, but in the meantime, please get in touch, and thanks for your time this afternoon. Okay, am I okay to log off now, Lisa? Do you want me to hang around in case there's more questions? think I'm gonna log off just now. But if you need me, my name's Michelle McFadden. You'll also find my contact details on the RGU website. So do keep in touch. So thank you and goodbye.